Hello, friends on the interwebs. I'm Rachael Blaske.
And I'm Julia Hearn.
And welcome to the Clickbait series, where you learn helpful tips about the game industry as quick as a click. Because that's why it's called that, right?
This is what the kids are doing these days, right?
Right. So since we're on the road, we're giving you the short and sweet version of each topic and the takeaways at the end of the chat.
Today's topic is how to get noticed by a publisher when you're a designer.
All right. So take a minute to sip your coffee and do a quick listen because you're invited.
This episode is brought to you today by XYZ Game Labs.
And we're on YouTube now. So take a minute to subscribe, and that way you'll know when we post new content, because that's the way this works.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Number 1, do your homework. I always am the one preaching, do your research, do your research, do your research. Guess what? Do your homework. Now I feel like my mom's self. Okay, so your homework. If you have a design that is a certain type. I mean, everybody has their indicators of what type of a design it is. Now go around, look at all the different publishers and see what they put out and see if it matches your design. If you are doing a super deep, heavy one, then pay attention to publishers who do that. Maybe you have a game that has a bajillion minis and you want to pitch it to CMON. Maybe you have a very light and happy one and you can find they're everywhere. Like, just educate yourself on where you're pitching to.
That's
Number
right.
2.
Sell sheet basics. So you've got your game, you have the information, and you want to relay it. And you're going to want to pour it all into your sell sheet. Please don't. Make sure you have the key information. And by key information, I mean, give me the stats. Length of gameplay, age appropriate, what you don't have to do price point per se, but make sure you have a picture of what all of the components that you think are needed to play the game, and have, for the love of toast, your contact information on there. Because what you're going to want is to be so that if you did your homework right, those people are going to look at it and they're going to want to contact you. And if you didn't do your homework right and you're just trying to get it out there to as many publishers, even that, who calls you back is going to be a good indicator of whether it was a good fit or not. But they aren't going to be able to do it if they don't know how to get a hold of you. Third tip. Okay, so you've given your sell sheet, you're talking, you're pitching, you're thinking you make a good connection, and they start giving you feedback about what they think they see and envision for the game. Mm-hmm. Please don't argue with the publisher. Whether you agree with them or not, take the feedback, because taking the feedback will let them know whether or not you're going to have a good working relationship. If you're already arguing with them because you have something in your head and this is the way it has to be, that means it's not going to be. Maybe you should be looking at publishing it yourself. Maybe it's just not going to be a good fit for the bigger vision that they have. Either way, arguing with them is not going to give a good impression, so that maybe this isn't a good fit, but maybe your next game is. But if they know that you're the designer who wants to fight every thought that they're having, it's not a good indicator. Now, that's not to say that if they're like, hey, no, you know what? I think this is a really great minis combat game, but what it really needs is a dexterity game, to be as a dexterity game. That obviously, but again, right. Not worth arguing. Just go, oh, how interesting. And then take your stuff and go away. And you don't have to sell it to them. You do not have to.
But man, it gets around if you argue.
Right. When a publisher starts throwing out ideas, it also might be because they're thinking about their whole line, their manufacturing, their logistics. They're thinking about things that you have not thought of as a creative and didn't need to think of as a creative. Right. But don't dismiss what they have to say, because at the end of the day, it's either going to be a good fit or it isn't. So either way, it's not really worth the air to fight them on it until you get into a contract and have a design, and maybe, I mean, if there's certain expectations. I'm not saying don't push back if they're not giving you what you've agreed upon in the end or in a contract negotiation. But that first step, totally not worth it.
Now, last thing, number 4, a 2-minute video is like 1,000 words. I mean, you just have so much more you can show in a video. You can show gameplay, you can show components, all the pieces of a sell sheet. Only in a 2-minute sizzle is just like it all comes right at you and it's perfect. So definitely think about that. You in other industries, a lot of places like even the toy associate or the toy industry, they receive pitches as sizzles. It's a thing that they do. So something to definitely
So
think
whether,
about.
or even on your sell sheet, to go back to the beginning, if you
Yeah.
have that link or QR code that takes us right to that is worth a lot more than you trying to write out the rules on the page. It is far more
Absolutely.
effective in seeing the bigger picture of what you envision your game to be.
Yep, and it doesn't confuse us as we're looking at the sell sheet. It makes us really focus on the things that you want us to see, and we can see the rest of it later.
100%.
Gosh, we could keep going, huh?
We could. On this topic, we absolutely could keep going, but we're not going to because we need to stop here, and we'll give you more next time. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, even when we're on the road, you're invited.